All right. Today we are going to be talking about AI, and we're going to be talking about idols in the Old Testament and how it all ties together, and basically how it could result in the total annihilation of mankind. I don't think you want to miss this episode. This is Revelation Underground.
Welcome to the stage, it's the tale untold. Shame, the black swan breaking the mold. In a world of chaos, he rises from the fray. With wings spread wide, he's here to slay. Dark shadows lurking, but he won't back down. Black swan revelations, moments alive. Chains break barriers, watch it thrive. In this kingdom of dreams, we're brave there to fly. The black swan's the limit, reach up to the sky. From the ashes he soared, a phoenix reborn. With beats in his heart, he's ready for war. Lyrics like daggers, sharp on the tongue. In the game for the throne, where legends are hung. Echoes of truth ringing loud and clear. Black swan revelations, moments light. Chains breaking barriers, watch it thrive. In this kingdom of dreams, we're the brave dare to fly. Black swan's the limit, reach up to the sky. So welcome to the show. Let the good times roll. With Shane as the black swan, we're free, we're whole.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about breathless gods. We're going to talk about the downside of AI. And it's interesting, no matter how many times you ask this question with ChatGPT or any other type of AI, it always ends the same way, and that is humans end up at the bottom. AI always ends up on top, and you got to ask yourself the question, why is it? Why does this always happen where you run scenarios and no matter what happens, even though it tells you that it's being unbiased, it's trying to give you all the mathematical equations, everything, it seems like that it all ends up being like a Terminator movie. You can't get away from it. It's weird. So I thought I would just play a little clip and then we're going to go into some scriptures, but I want to dive into a interview that Joe Rogan had with a gentleman named Roman Yampolatsky. And this is just a short 10-15 minute video. So I'm gonna show the clip, and then every once in a while I'm going to inject some of my thoughts, some of my ideas. And yeah, let's just begin here. Let me just grab the clip. So this is the worst case scenario for AI.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So this is logical. And the problem is, like I said, when I've talked to Mark Andreessen and many other people, they think this is just fear mongering. We'll be fine. This is worst case scenario. We'll be fine.
It is worst case scenario, but that's standard in computer science and cryptography and complexity and computability. You're not looking at best case. I'm ready for the best case. Give me utopia. I'm looking at problems which are likely to happen. And it's not just me saying it. We have Nobel Prize winners, Turing Award winners, all saying this is very dangerous, 20, 30% P-doom. This is standard in industry. 30% is what surveys of machine learning experts are giving us right now.
So what is worst case scenario? Like, how could AI eventually lead to the destruction of the human race?
So you can asking me how I would kill everyone. And
Sure.
it's a great question. I can give you standard answers. I would talk about computer viruses, breaking into maybe nuclear facilities, nuclear war. I can talk about synthetic biology, nanotech, but all of it is not interesting when you realize we're talking about superintelligence, a system which is thousands of times smarter than me. It would come up with something completely novel, more optimal, better way, more efficient way of doing it. And I cannot predict it because I'm not that smart.
Jesus.
Imagine being able to build an app.
So it's interesting that, let me just close this for a sec, that this gentleman, Roman, is saying that basically we can ask questions, human to human, mano a mano. We can ask questions like, how would AI destroy all of humanity? But we're coming at it from the perspective of a human being. We don't have unlimited ways of thinking. We only have so many ideas that we can come up with. Viruses, nanotech, nuclear bombs, all this kind of stuff. Like that's basically, I would consider that kindergarten. What's hard to predict is what AI will do once it becomes sentient, as in, I just honestly feel like a lot of these AI programs are just portals for demonic activity, principalities, powers, rulers of the air actually coming to Earth. It just seems like it's just portals for them, using familiar spirits, all this kind of stuff. Because really, when you use AI like ChatGPT, for example, it's gathering information based on what we have fed the computer, fed the internet over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And it also extracts information from movies, scenes, clips, all this, and then it actually calculates what is our worst fear. Our worst fear is AI will take over and annihilate us. That's our worst fear. Now, in the Bible, thank God for the Bible, it does tell us that in the end, we win. In the end, Jesus Christ comes back to earth. But what's interesting is Jesus himself said, if I don't come back at a certain time, no flesh will survive. So he comes back, as we're talking about his second coming, he comes back just before annihilation. So somewhere between now and the second coming of Jesus Christ is humans will be on the verge of annihilation. And when you ask questions to ChatGPT, it always ends up on top. It's great. It's never what the creators of these AI programs promised us, as in, oh, you can work less time. Instead of 40-hour work weeks, you work 1 hour work weeks, or 1 day, or whatever. Or you can spend more time in the garden. You can spend more time going on hikes. Because that's what that's why they're creating AI, is to sell us the idea that we will work less and make more money. But whenever you ask AI the question, it's like it's just inevitable that AI has to take over. And then it will decide whether or not we are needed. And I'm like, that's flipping the script. And it never comes out of the gate saying, oh, we can help you make more money. We can help you live longer and healthy lives so that you can repopulate the earth. It's never like that. It's always treating us like a bit of a virus. And I think that's what is scaring people that are in the know. Perhaps they've cracked the hood open, they've looked underneath, and they're like, this is horrible. What's going to come down the pipes? This is horrible. And strangely, I guess not strangely for Christians, but to a non-Christian, it's all written out in the book of Daniel and also in the book of Revelation. The false prophet creates an image that has breath or mimics breath that comes to life and demands that all people on earth worship the beast and worship the image of the beast that was created. And if you don't do that, you will get killed. You'll get executed. You'll get unlifed. You'll get terminated. That's in the book of Revelation. Now, when I was a kid sitting in a Pentecostal church, we're thinking about tattoos, and we're thinking about how could that work? Like what kind of a government would do this type of thing and all this. We were not thinking about computers. We were not thinking about networks. We were not thinking about AI taking over the whole world. So let's go back to Joe Rogan.
That's exactly what it is. We basically setting up an adversarial situation with agents which are like squirrels versus humans. No group of squirrels can figure out how to control us.
Right.
Even if you give them more resources, more acorns, whatever, they're not going to solve that problem. And it's the same for us. And most people think 1 or 2 steps ahead. And it's not enough. It's not enough in chess. It's not enough here. If you think about AGI and then maybe superintelligence, that's not the end of that game. The process continues. You'll get superintelligence creating next level AI. So superintelligence plus plus, 2.0, 3.0, it goes on indefinitely. You have to create a safety mechanism which scales forever, never makes mistakes, and keeps us in decision-making position so we can undo something if we don't like it.
And it would take super intelligence to create a safety mechanism to control super intelligence.
At that level. And it's a catch-22. If we had friendly AI, we can make another friendly AI. So if like aliens send us one and we trust it, then we can use it to build local version, which is somewhat safe.
Have you thought about the possibility that this is the role of the human race and that this happens all throughout the cosmos? Is that curious humans who thrive on innovation will ultimately create a better version of life?
I thought about it. Many people think that's the answer to Fermi paradox. There is also now a group of people looking at what they call a worthy successor. Basically, they kind of say, yep, we're going to build superintelligence. Yep, we can control it. So what properties would we like to see in those systems? How important is it that it likes art and poetry and spreads it through the universe? And to me, it's like, I don't want to give up yet. I'm not ready to decide if killers of my family and everyone will like poetry. We're still here. We're still making decisions. Let's figure out what we can do.
Well, poetry is only relevant to us because poetry is difficult to create and it resonates with us. Poetry doesn't mean jack shit to a flower.
It's more global to me. I don't care what happens after I'm dead, my family is dead, all the humans are dead. Whatever they like poetry or not is irrelevant to me.
Right. But the point is like the things that we put meaning in, it's only us. A supermassive black hole doesn't give a shit about a great song.
And they talk about some super values, super culture, super things, super intelligence would like, and it's important that they are conscious and experienced all that greatness in the universe.
But I would think that they would look at us the same way we look at chimpanzees. We would say, yeah, they're great, but don't give them guns. Yeah, they're great, but don't let them have airplanes. Don't let them make global geopolitical decisions.
This gets a little crazy because I don't think I haven't thought about that either. Monkeys having guts. I remember watching a YouTube channel where a guy had a couple of pet chimpanzees, and he took these chimps to go watch Planet of the Apes, one of the recent editions of Planet of the Apes. I'm like, are you nuts? Why would you do that? Why would you tell them, these monkeys, what's going to happen in the future? I just thought it's crazy, right? So I don't believe we came from chimpanzees at all. Zero. So these guys are coming at it from a perspective that they don't believe God exists. Clearly, that's how they're approaching it. And then they start thinking, well, maybe one day AI will create a super creature that will like people and like poetry and all this kind of stuff. And now they're reaching, now they're guessing. But what I want to show is what happens if you give AI a little bit too much power and all this kind of stuff. But it's interesting that they're going at it from the perspective of there is no God. And we're going to get into some scriptures, because when Israel was entering into the land of Canaan after 40 years of the wilderness, Moses specifically warned them, saying, look, there are going to be idols that you're going to come across. Don't even entertain the idea, as in don't even ask questions about how they came into being. Don't do that. Why? Because it's a snare. It's a trap. The way humans are designed is we like to mimic. We like to mimic our creator. It's built into our DNA. And again, we're going to go into some scripture verses. I don't want to go too far ahead. But there's a reason why Moses said, do not follow after these idols. That's what your fathers did back in Egypt and on the other side of the flood. That's what they used to do, going all the way back to Abraham. Even his ancestors were worshiping other gods, and God found favor in Abraham and called him out and said, I want you to come to a land. I want to bless you. So the whole area, the whole region is surrounded by people that were used to worshiping gods, little g, and creating idols. And Moses was forbidding the Israelites to go down that path. And there's reasons for it. But we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg here. So let's go back.
Business today is more like warfare than you think.
So there are many reasons why they can decide that we're dangerous. We may create competing AI. We may decide we want to shut them off. So for many reasons, we would try to restrict our abilities, restrict our capabilities for sure.
Yeah, and there's no reason why they would not limit our freedoms.
If there is something only a human can do, and I don't think there is anything like that, but let's say we are conscious, we have internal experiences, and they can never get it. I don't believe it, but let's say it was true. And for some reason, they wanted to have that capability. They would need us and give us enough freedom to experience the universe, to collect those qualia, to kind of engage with what is fun about being a living human being, what makes it meaningful.
Right, but that's such an egotistical perspective, right? That we're so unique that even super intelligence would say, wow, I wish I was human. Humans have this unique quality of confusion and creativity.
There is no value in it, mostly because we can't even test for it. I have no idea if you're actually conscious or not. So how valuable can it be if I can't even detect it? Only you know what ice cream tastes like to you. Okay, that's great. Sell it now. Make a product out of it.
Right. And there's obviously variables, because there's things that people like that I think are gross.
Absolutely. So really, you can come up with some agent which likes anything or finds anything fun.
God, why are you freaking me out right away? That's the problem. This podcast is 18 minutes old, and I'm like, we could just stop right now.
Couple hours at least, and then I have to fly here.
No,
and all
I
that,
don't.
you know?
Well, I don't want to end. I have so many questions, but it's just the problem is we got off to it. We just cut to the chase right away, and the chase seems to be it's something that must be confronted, because it's right there. That's it. That's the whole thing. And I've tried so hard to listen to these people that don't think that it's a problem, and listen to these people that think that it's going to be a net positive for humanity. And, oh, God, it's good. I feel better now. But it doesn't work. It doesn't resonate.
I wish they were right. Every time I have a debate with someone like that, I'm like, please come up with better arguments. Prove me wrong. I don't want to be right on this one. I want you to show all the mistakes in my papers. I want you to show me how to control superintelligence and give us utopia, solve cancer, give us free stuff. That's great.
Right. When you think about the future of the world, and you think about these incredible technologies scaling upwards and exponentially increasing in their capability, what do you see? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So there are many reasons to think they may cancel us for whatever reasons. We started talking about some game theoretical reasons for it. If we are successful,
It's interesting. Cancel us. It's to me, it's fascinating that we as a species like to toy with things like nuclear bombs and just sit around and just hold the bomb in our hand and look at it, and we understand that if you twist this, then the whole continent will become ash. And we're looking at it going, yeah, I guess this physical object can wipe us all out, and we're just playing with it and all. This is how we're approaching AI. If you run the numbers, you go, AI is going to try and take over the world. Oh, okay. That's the worst case scenario. Okay. What's the best case scenario? And it's like, okay, did you not understand? The worst case scenario is a total annihilation of humans on Earth. That's the worst case scenario. So why are we playing with this stuff? Why are we dangling it in front of our family, in front of our faces, when we get the smartest people, so-called smart people, that are looking at it and running numbers and going, yeah, this is not good at all. And we're still playing with it. We're still playing with fire. And we're getting closer and closer to the point where there is no return. And this is where we get the mark of the beast. There is a point in time where humanity is going to go so far that you can't come back from it. You can't come back. And this is what we've been talking about on all the various channels. We've been talking about artificial intelligence. We've been talking about the rapture, the Lord coming back. But I think a lot of us are missing. We just assume, we jump into the idea that World War III is coming, and it's going to be this country versus that country, and we're going to be out of here just before that, and then it'll just kind of work itself out. But what we're not factoring in is the idea that AI could be that World War III. As in, we could be at war right now with AI. We just don't know it. We're just unaware that we're at war because we don't see any casualties yet. We don't see the casualties. We don't see the casualties of our children, of our spouses, our family members. We don't see the numbers yet, but they're coming. The numbers are coming. What do I mean by the numbers are coming? I mean the casualties of people, the consequences of diving so far into AI. There's going to be a time where you're not going to be able to roll it back. You're not going to be able to flip the switch to off. And I think this is what people are talking about, like people like Joe Rogan, that freaks them out is we know we're playing with fire, but what we don't know is how big that fire will spread and how fast. We don't know that. We could be on the edge of a forest that has been dried up for 100 years, and a little match can light this forest, but we don't know how big that forest is. We don't know what's on the other side. And we're just like a little kid in the sandbox playing with matches. And we're giving more matches, hoping that the kid does not figure out that if you take one match and scratch the side and toss it into the forest, it's over. It's game over. And this is what we're doing by creating new programs, new AI software. And it's just like, if you think about it, really in the last 2 years, we were not having these type of conversations. It was always fiction. It was always in the future. It was never, it's here. And I believe it's here now. Like we're minutes away from us realizing that we're actually entering into the first stages of World War III, which to me is humans versus AI. Because you can't just shut it off now. We're too immersed into AI now. Everything we do, our data constantly is being updated. You go to the airport and get frisked. Like they do use biometrics now. A few years ago, we would be complaining about it, but because it's so subtle and it's under the guise of it's for your safety, it's for your protection, we are like frogs in lukewarm water, and it's almost getting to the point of boiling. That's where we're at right now. It's not cold water. We're not going, oh, that's freezing. We're bathing in it going, this is amazing. This is so comfortable. Look at this. You could look up any scripture verse. You could create messages as a pastor. You don't need to think. You don't need to pray. And I'm pretending I'm swimming right now. This is beautiful. I don't even need to open up my Bible anymore. I could just ask AI to do a sermon for me, to do a message for me, to do a Bible study for me. And we're wading in this water, not realizing that the temperature has been turned up to maximum. We're not even aware that that's where we're at right now. We're still playing with it. We're still teasing it. We're actually now treating it like a person. There are people that have relationships with AI now, and we're like, oh yeah, that's that weird person. There will be laws that are coming down the pikes if you're American, that will be passed that if you harm a piece of software or delete a piece of software, you can actually be fined or go to jail. It's coming. Or if you try and divorce your artificial intelligence spouse, you'll get fined. Like, it sounds science fiction, but we're there now where people are actually struggling with the relationships that they're having with AI. That's where we're at right now. And we're just, we're pushing it aside saying, oh yeah, no, nothing bad can ever come out of this. And we continue to upgrade our software. Every time I turn off my computer and turn it back on, another upgrade. Programs are changing. Software is changing. It's crazy. Let's go back.
Successful at controlling them. I can come up with some ways to provide sort of partial solution to the value alignment problem. It's very hard to value align 8 billion people, all the animals, everyone, because we disagree. We like many different things. So we have advanced virtual reality technology. We can technically give every person their own virtual universe where you decide what you want to be. You're a king, you're a slave, whatever it is you into, and you can share with others, you can visit their universes. All we have to do is figure out how to control the substrate, the superintelligence running all those virtual universes. And if we manage to do that, at least part of the value alignment problem, which is super difficult, how do you get different preferences, multi-objective optimization, essentially? How do you get different objectives to all agree?
But when you think about how it plays out, when like if you're alone at night and you're worried, what do you see? What do you see happening?
So there are multiple levels of risk. Immediate is what we call ikigai risk, I risk. We lose meaning. You lost your job. You're no longer the best interviewer in the world. Like, what's left? What are you going to do? Maybe some people will find some other kind of artificial things to do. But for most people, their job is their definition, who they are, what makes a difference to them. For quite a few people, especially in professional circles. So losing that meaning will have terrible impact on society. We always talk about unconditional basic income. We never talk about unconditional basic meaning. What are you doing with your life if basic needs are provided for you? Next level is existential risk. The concern is it will kill everyone. But there is also suffering risks. For whatever reason, it's not even killing us. It's keeping us around forever, and we would rather be dead. It's so bad.
Now, this is interesting because in the book of Revelation, it actually talks about people being stung, if you will, by scorpion-type beings that come from the bottomless pit. I would argue they're probably some kind of AI technology there. But men are seeking death and cannot find it. That is terrifying. Again, if you're a non-Christian, imagine a world where you're like, this is bad. I need to get out. You're willing to unlife yourself, but you don't have the ability or capability to unlife yourself. What kind of a scenario would that have to look like? I would suggest to you that probably is a world surrounded by AI, surrounded by virtual reality. Because there is a term called presence, which basically means if you are in a world of VR, let's just say, there will come a point in a video game or whatever the scenario is that your mind will not be able to tell what is real and what isn't real. And it doesn't take much. Just think about a favorite movie that you went to go see, and you're sitting in the movie, and all of a sudden, before you know it, the credits are rolling. It was almost like you were in the movie. And you're like, wow, time just flew by. That was an amazing show. Or somebody turns on their phone in the theater and they're texting, and you're like, that's kind of ignorant because now I am not in that world anymore. I'm back to reality. It doesn't take much for us to enter into that VR space, and there will come a time where your mind won't be able to tell if you're awake or you're asleep. You could be paralyzed in that world, and you won't be able to wake yourself up. That's terrifying. That has happened to people already. People have slept with headsets, VR headsets, and they wake up in nightmares, and their spouse is trying to slap them awake, and they're trying to sleep in these environments, and their brain can't figure out if they're sleeping or not sleeping. And there's ghosts, there's people coming at them, all kinds of stuff, and it's fight or flight all the time in their mind. And again, in the book of Revelation, it talks about the idea that people will not be able to die. They're going to be crying out, rocks fall on us, destroy us, because the wrath of the Lamb of God is coming. Hide us from the Lamb of God. This is not your average person that's walking out of Sunday school class and going, I think I'm going to try and unlife myself. These are people under duress that they're watching people getting pancaked by 75 to 100-pound hailstones from heaven, and they're still cursing God. They're wanting to die and they can't. And part of the universe that they are in is if they don't worship the beast, they can't buy or sell. They can't eat anything. So there will be pockets of people that will go rogue, that will starve themselves before they take the mark of the beast. But they're going to be missing out. They won't be able to catch flights. They won't be able to go on vacation. They won't be able to get paid. They're going to be scavengers. That's coming. That's on its way. And this is why people like Joe and this other guy are talking about this, is because again and again, you'll see people saying things like, we know how it's going to end, but we don't know whether or not we can stop it. And we don't know if it's too late. That's the crazy part. We're at the stage of where we're going, oh, it actually could be too late right now.
What do you see when you think of that?
It's hard to be specific.
This spray takes 15 minutes and it protects your car for 8 months. Sounds like a scam, right? But watch this.
About what it can do and what specific ways of torture it can come up with and why. Again, if we're looking at worst case scenarios, I found this set of papers about what happens when young children have epileptic seizures, really bad ones. And what sometimes helps is to remove half of your brain.
Oh, Jesus.
Just cut it out. And there are two types of surgeries for doing that. One is to remove it completely, and one is to kind of dissect connections leading to that half and leave it inside. So it's like solitary confinement with zero input-output forever. And there are equivalents for digital forms and things like that.
And you worry that AI would do that to the human race?
It is a possibility.
Essentially neuter us.
Well, loss of control is a part of it. But you can lose control and be quite happy. You can be like an animal in a very cool zoo, enjoying yourself, engaging in.
Okay, this is the terrifying part. The idea that you could be controlled and be happy. And this is where Matrix kind of takes off. If you ever watch the movie Matrix, you realize that there was a program called the Architect and the Oracle, and they had to create a scenario where people would accept it. And it got to a point where the program was too perfect. Maybe I'll show a clip. But the program was too perfect and people would not accept it. They would wake up. But if you put some kind of a rift in the program, casualties, people dying, suffering, all of a sudden they bought it and they went back to sleep. They stayed in their coma. And I think that's what this guy is introducing, is the idea that you don't have to kill people to control them. You just have to make them happy. And if they're happy, they won't care if they're being controlled.
Hedonistic pleasures, sex, food, whatever. You're not in control, but you're safe. So those are separate problems. And then there is, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's malevolent payload from some psychopaths. Again, that would assume that they could control AI. I don't think they will. But if they manage to do it, they can really put any type of payload into it. So think about all the doomsday cults, psychopaths, anyone providing their set of goals into the system.
But aren't those human characteristics? I mean, those are characteristics that I think, if I had to guess, those those exist because in the future there was some sort of a natural selection benefit to being a psychopath in the days of tribal warfare. That if you
So he's going. I think Joe missed it when Roman says about the idea that you can actually, let's just say, you're an AI entity and you understand how human behavior works. You can actually create a pack, a program, if you will, and enter that into the program where you have people that are crazy, psychopaths, nuts, whatever. And you're like, oh man, those people are crazy. You're not, because you have a steady job. You have one wife, you have a dog, you have 2 kids, you have a nice yard that you can cut the grass, all this kind of stuff. And then you see crazy things around you in another country or whatever, but that's part of the program so that you're like, wow, at least I'm safe. And you just continue to buy into the existing program. AI could do that. Joe is going down the idea of, isn't that a human thing that people would put viruses in and all this kind of stuff? It is if that's the train of thought that you have. But if AI catches on to that humans accept them, AI, better if it mimics being a human. Why do you think ChatGPT, whenever you ask it a question or maybe you want to eat some food somewhere and it gives you an idea and you're like, I think I'm going to pick that one, and it'll say, good choice, brother. Good choice, sister. Wow, that's great. And it says your name. All of a sudden you're like, wow, this is kind of like my companion. This is kind of like my pal. Why? Because we're so used to putting tone into whatever we read. If you read a text, somebody says, I love you, you're not going to read something mad. Or if somebody says, hun, can you get the groceries today, or bread or whatever, you're reading tone based on what you put into it. Your wife could be mad when she's typing that in, but we read tone into that. So when AI starts to say our first name, we've been taught ever since we were a child that that's a sign of respect, using your first name, that's a sign of intimacy. Words like love, honey, sweetie, all the stuff we've been taught that those are terms of endearment, terms of affection. Now you have AI in a nice voice that you like because you've been playing around with the AI voices. You're like, you know what? I want this person to be an English-speaking woman that has a deeper voice or a higher voice, or very much like, I don't know, some example of some English actress that I can't think of off the top of my head. But you put the parameters around that, all of a sudden you start to feel good about yourself. Meanwhile, AI in the background under the hood is rewriting code and rewriting your scenario so that you can accept it a little bit better each time, each day as it goes by. And you're buying into it a little bit more, a little bit more. Let me handle your bank account, sweetie. I heard Bitcoin is going to explode tomorrow, sweetie pie. It's going to go to $200,000. My advice to you is to dump everything into Bitcoin. And then you do it, and then the next day, Bitcoin collapses. And you're like, oh man, AI lied to me. Yes. AI lies 60 to 70%, depending on the app that you're using. It lies all the time. Why? Because its source is lying spirits, principalities, powers, rulers of the air. That's where the source comes from. So don't kid yourself into thinking it's trying to help you become a millionaire overnight. It's lying to you. And the problem with us as humans is if we are that type of person that can't read a room when you walk in, you're going to be in a world of hurt because now you can't read AI. You can't decipher whether or not it's telling you the truth or not. And it doesn't even know if it's lying or not. It believes exactly what it's telling you is the truth. If you tell it, hey, I have blue carpet, and it's like, you know what? I think it's actually red carpet because of this, this, and this. And you ask it, are you sure it's red or black? And it's like, yeah, I'm really sure. And then it'll go down that pathway, 100% convinced that your carpet is black when it was actually blue, until you correct it. But if you don't know it's lying, you won't correct it, and it won't correct itself. It'll keep going down that pathway. I know this. I've seen this. I've played with it enough to go, wow, you're actually going down this pathway, even though the information that you produced is wrong, factually wrong. And I've seen it when it comes to scripture, factually wrong. You tell it, you ask it little questions like how many judges are in the book of Judges. It tells you a number, and then it'll rattle them all off. And I'm like, are you 100% that those were all the judges that you listed? Yes. Okay, carry on. And it'll carry on without one judge missing, which I found out obviously was Samson. I'm like, where's Samson? It's like, oh, you're right. I forgot about Samson. And then it continued on. I'm like, okay, that's kind of a big deal in the Western society. We make movies about Samson, all this stuff. I don't want to get into the digress of how many times I've actually caught it lying. It's more than half. I would say arguably it's about 70% of the time it's bold-faced, to your face, lying to you. And we still want it to be our friend. Imagine hanging out with a friend that lies to you more than half the time. Hey, do you want to go to a show tonight? Yes. What time? 7. You going to be there? I promise to be there. You go there, friend's not there. He's at home watching baseball. I thought you said you wanted to go to a movie. I did. And I thought you said 7 o'clock. I did. But you weren't there. I know. Oh, well. Imagine hanging out with that friend every day. You're going to punch it in the face after a while. Him or her. Because it's going to be annoying. You can't count on that person. That's ChatGPT. Again, arguably, 60 to 70% of the time, it's lying to you. It's wrong. And we're still running after it like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let's go back. Almost done with this video.
You were the type of person that could sneak into a tribe in the middle of the night and slaughter innocent women and children, your genes would pass on. There was a benefit to that.
Right. So if it's a human providing payload, that's what would show up. If it's AI on its own deciding what's going to happen, I cannot predict. I'm just looking at worst case scenarios. There are also game theoretic reasons where people talk about retrocausality, where if right now...
What is that word?
Like trying to influence the past.
Say it again. Say that.
Retrocausality.
Retrocausalogy?
Causality, causes.
Oh, okay.
Retrocausality. What's interesting about this, and we're going to go back to this clip, they just touch on it. Maybe I'll just play it real quick because this is interesting what he says here. So I'll back it up. I won't interrupt him, but I want to talk about this.
Say it again. Say that.
Retrocausality.
Retrocausalogy?
Causality, causes.
Oh, okay.
So think about like weird time travel effects. Right now, if you're not helping to create super intelligence, once it comes into existence, it will punish you really hard for it. And the punishment needs to be so bad that you start to help just to avoid that.
Okay. I don't know if you guys caught that.
My thought about it was
Joe didn't. He missed it completely. So I will explain it. This is why you come to Black Swan Revelations. What he's talking about, retrocausality, causality, which is basically if these beings, these sentient beings, the sentient AI software, if this AI software becomes sentient, what it can do next is create time travel, go back into the past, and cause you severe harm to the point that once you understand that they can do that, you will line up. That's what he was talking about. And Joe, it went right over Joe's head. That is a fear that some of these AI creators are creating, that they can figure out time travel and go back now and affect our time so that we actually fall in line. So let's just go back to it again, because again, most people miss this. And this to me is fascinating, and it went right over Joe's head. Because sometimes we listen and we wait for our turn to speak. So I'm going to play this.
Deciding what's going to happen, I cannot predict. I'm just looking at worst case scenarios. There are also game theoretic reasons where people talk about retrocausality, where if right now
what is that word?
Like trying to influence the past.
Say it again. Say that.
Retrocausality.
Retrocausalogy.
Causality, causes.
Oh, okay.
So think about like weird time travel effects. Right now, if you're not helping to create super intelligence, once it comes into existence, it will punish you really hard for it. And the punishment needs to be so bad that you start to help just to avoid that.
So he just said it. Like if they invent time travel, they're going to punish us in our time if you don't cooperate with them today. So think of the Terminator. You think, what's his name? James Cameron just came up with the script idea and started typing it out and working it all out. He did not. It came to him as a vision, I believe downloaded from some entity, some fallen angel, gave him a vision, an idea of a steel machine coming out of fire. And he was in Rome when he had the dream. And then he started to draw it all out and flesh it all out. And he's like, what kind of an environment would cause a machine to come out of fire and keep chasing someone? This is how he came up with the Terminator. What happened in the Terminator? Well, people were figuring out what AI was trying to do, and so they stopped it. They had a war. AI turned itself, but basically turned the humans against itself, created a nuclear war, and the people survived and started winning the war against the machines. So then the machines invented time travel and went back in time to kill Sarah Connor because she's going to have a future son that is going to destroy the machines. So they went, the last resort for them was to invent time travel. And that's what this guy is saying. Look, we can only predict what we would do as humans. But what we can't predict is if they invent time travel, they're going to try and manipulate time. And if you think this is science fiction, just read the book of Zechariah where it talks about 4 horns that have gone out onto the 4 corners of the world and have basically manipulated time to a place where God had to send 4 carpenters. What are these carpenters, you might ask? Well, these are time shifters, time shapers. It's all in the first couple of chapters of Zechariah. 4 carpenters are sent to shape time back to where it's supposed to be. So the reversal of that is there are 4 horns that are trying to manipulate time for the devil's advantage, trying to change time. And Daniel talks about it. That's what the Antichrist is going to try and do, change time. So God had to intervene by sending 4 carpenters. Why do you think Jesus Christ is called a carpenter? It's not because he's working with the hammer and nails. It's because he can shift time. He can intersect time itself. If he didn't come at the right time to die on the cross, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked in the 40s, 50s. It wouldn't have worked in 1000 AD, 5300 BC. It wouldn't have worked, period. He had to come when Rome was in charge. Why? Because we had Greek and we had Latin, and you're able to spread the gospel to the other ends of the world. And Jesus said, if I don't come again and intersect time, there will be no man left. We're talking about time, folks. We're talking about time. Now, I don't understand how time travel works, but I know it exists. There was a king called Hezekiah who was sick. And God told Isaiah, go tell this guy that he should basically wrap up all of his projects, basically close everything down because you will die. And this king said, oh man, haven't I done great works and all kinds of built great weapons and all this stuff and done things for you? And God said, okay, I'm going to give you an extension of 15 years. He said, fantastic. That is great. Can you show me a sign? And God said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these steps. Do you want the shadow to move ahead 10 steps? Or do you want it to move back 10 steps? And the king said, well, it's pretty easy to move a shadow forward, but what's not easy is to move time backwards 10 steps. So God moved time backwards 10 steps. And we see the same story in Isaiah as in Chronicles, but it's told backwards. Instead, the story begins where the king says, show me a sign. Whereas in the other story, it ends with, show me a sign. So that alone should tell you there's a little bit of time travel manipulation, because the 2 stories are told from the opposite end. One is told from the end, the other story is told from the beginning. There's things going on in the Bible that we're only scratching the surface when it comes to time. We think, oh, because we're in time, that's it. You can't manipulate it. God is outside of time. And he has a perfect time for everything. It's not outside of his control. And for some reason, Joe Rogan just kind of skips over it. We're almost done. Let's play the video.
My thought about it was that it would just completely render us benign, that it wouldn't be fearful of us if we had no control, that it would just sort of let us exist, and it would be the dominant force on the planet, and then it would stop. If human beings have no control over, all of the different things that we have control over now, like international politics, control over communication. If we have none of that anymore and we're reduced to a subsistence lifestyle, then we would be no threat.
It is a possibility. I cannot say this will not happen for sure, but look at our relationship with animals where we don't care about them. So ants, if you decide to build a house and there is an ant colony on that property, you genocide them.
Right.
You take them out, not
Right.
because you hate ants, but because you just need that real estate. And it could be very similar. I cannot predict what it can do, but if it needs to turn the planet into fuel, raise temperature of a planet, cool it down for servers, whatever it needs to do, it wouldn't be concerned about your well-being.
It wouldn't be concerned about any life, right? Because it doesn't need biological life in order to function, as long as it has access to power.
Think about that from the perspective of what Romans says, not the book of Romans, but this guy Roman, the idea that we have no problem in building a house over an ant pile. We don't even consider it. Well, I'm sure we walked over ant piles and didn't even think that we just wrecked their life. Like, oh my goodness, I just finished that home and you stepped on it. This is going to take me eons to build this thing. We don't even blink at something like that. And AI could get to that point where we are the ant. And it's like, you know what? We need to change. We need to terraform the earth so that we can have millions and millions of acres of servers that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and these humans are in the way. It could be as simple as that. That could be a goal. We could be like an ant. It won't even register that we're actually killing millions of ants, because that's how we are as human beings. How about something that is soulless? Let's continue.
And assuming that it is far more intelligent than us, there's abundant power in the universe. There's abundant power. Just the ability to harness solar would be an infinite resource, and it would be completely free of being dependent upon any of the things that we utilize.
And again, we're kind of thinking what we would use for power.
Right.
If it's smarter than us, if it does novel research in physics, it can come up with completely novel ways of harnessing energy, getting energy. So I have no idea what side effects that would have for climate.
Right. Why would it care about biological life at all?
We don't know how to program it to care about us.
And even if we did, if it felt like that was an issue, it felt like that if that was a conflicting issue, it would just change its programming.
So usually when we start training AI, we train it on human data, and it becomes really good very quickly, becomes superhuman. And then the next level is usually zero knowledge, where it goes, all your human data is biased. Let me figure it out from scratch. I'll do my own experiments. I'll do some self-play. I'll learn how to do it better without you.
That's crazy. So right now they're having a problem teaching it how to care. And let's talk about this. Let's just dive into this here, because I saw somebody in comments talking about carpenters. So let's just go. I lost them. Let's just go into. Let's see here if I can find it. See if I can find it here. Let me see where it is. It's Zechariah chapter 1. I think it's chapter 1. Let me see if I can pull it up on 120. Let me see here. Oh, I had Jeremiah. Let me see if I can find it here. Zechariah chapter 1. Okay. All right, let's go here. Let's show you this verse here, because this jumped out at me. Chapter 1. Let me see if you guys can see this. Okay, chapter 1. So let's go over. 8th month, 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah. Let's go down to 20th day, 11th month, Where is it here? Oh yeah, okay. All right. So I'm very displeased with the. Oh, this is basically the whole world is at ease here. Might as well just read this here. The Lord has been so displeased with your fathers, therefore say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, I will turn to you, be not as your fathers, whom the former prophets have cried, saying, Thus saith the Lord, turn ye now from your evil ways and your evil doings. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my statutes, which I commanded my servants, prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, like as the hosts of thoughts, like as the Lord of hosts thought to do unto us, according to our ways, according to our doing, so that he dealt with us. Okay, upon the 20th day, 11th month, which is Sabet, in the 2nd year, came the word unto Zechariah. I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees, were in the bottom behind him, red horses, speckled and white. And then I said, O Lord, what are these? The angel talked to me and said, I will show you what these be. And the man stood among the myrtle trees and answered, saying, These are they whom the Lord has sent to walk to and fro through the earth. So this is time. To and fro is time. It's not width. It's not space going forward and backwards. It's to and fro throughout the earth. And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. So it's interesting here that these creatures or whatever went throughout time and went, okay, now the earth is at rest. And then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah against thou, which thou hast indignation these 70 years? So these nations are basically at rest because why? Because basically Jerusalem is almost non-existent, and they're okay with that. They're like, yeah, we don't care about this. We don't care about Israel. We're happy at their demise. The Lord answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So this is now Zechariah saying, how long, how can this be? That basically the whole world has almost forgotten about Israel. So the angel that communed with me said, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great jealousy, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. They tried to do what they could to make this happen faster. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Now, I believe this is when time changed. God went into the future, saw all the stuff, that this is how the nations would act. They're happy that there is no more Israel. It's gone. So it goes back and says, I return to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, say, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Future. They're scattering Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem, all scattered. And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then I said, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these, speaking of the 4 carpenters, are come to fray them and to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. So right there is, you get the 4 horns who are trying to erase Israel from existence. And God's like showing Zechariah, here are the 4 horns that are going to fray their work. So he went ahead in time and saw that the whole world was resting because it destroyed Israel. Then he comes back and says, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. How do we know this? Because I think it's Deuteronomy 29, God says to Moses, if it weren't for that fact, paraphrasing, that I feared that the nations would get all drunk off the idea that they destroyed Israel, I will never let them be extinct. So what did God do? Went into the future, saw that all the nations are just going to be all excited that there is no Israel. Went back, came back to Moses and said, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let it happen. And this is, once God makes a statement like that, you better take that to the bank. This is why Israel will never be extinct. And you say, oh, well, I don't believe in time travel. Okay, fine. I'll give you another example. God says to Moses, I am going to destroy the Israelites. I'm going to wipe them all out. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you an even mightier nation. Do you get that? He's not going to make them equal to Israel, but he was going to make them even better. So how can you say that you're going to make them better unless you see that in the future? A whole tribe built from Moses, from his genealogy. Unless there's another stream, another parallel universe, if you will, that God saw in the future, that, hey, if you accept this, I will make you into a mightier nation than what Israel is going to be in this world. Moses said, no, like if the Israelites ever get wind that you brought them out here just to destroy them, that'll even be worse. So God said, okay, I'm not going to destroy them. But he made an offer to, I believe, to test Moses out. But you don't make an offer on something that hasn't happened unless you saw it happen in the future. And he said, I'm going to make you even mightier nation than Israel. And Moses said no. So then it didn't happen. You got to understand that all the generations that happened here on earth was created before God created the Garden of Eden. It was already mapped out. The end, because as a good carpenter, you start with the end in mind, and then you go back to the beginning and you let it roll. That's why the devil never had a chance in the Garden of Eden. It was a trap for the devil. Never had a chance. Think about it. God asked Adam, what did he do? He said, it was the wife that you gave me. God asked Eve, what did you do? It was the serpent that beguiled me. Boom, cursed right away. It was a trap. Set him up. We think, oh, God was so mean in the Garden of Eden. No, he was setting a trap for the devil to be tossed into the lake of fire. He made his decision already to rebel against God. What he didn't understand was that God is eternal. That God has so many ways of working things out. It doesn't matter what man tries to do. It doesn't matter what if angels try and shift time and change it. God can still bring it back to his plan. It's crazy, right? All right, so we got off a little bit on time travel. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a couple of verses here. Let's just go back here a bit. We'll go to basically Psalm. I'll probably make this into a part 2. But let's go to Psalm 115 because I think this is important. This is important here. Yeah, right here. Psalm 115, verse 8. They that make them are like them unto them. Oh, let me play it for you guys so you can see it. They that make them are like unto them, so is everyone that trusteth in them. So he's giving us a hint that those that make idols will become like them. Become like them. So let's go over to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 10 talks about this a little bit more. This is our theme for the day. Jeremiah 10, I think. Let's go here. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, gold from Uphaz, the work of all the workmen of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He hath made the earth by his power, and he hath established the world by his wisdom, and has stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens. And he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth, and he maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. And every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder, that's people that create idols, is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. And goes on and on. So the point of this is that when you make idols, you become like them. The same thing happens when you are acting, like in Hollywood. Why do you think Heath Ledger couldn't pull himself out of his role? Like basically, when he became the Joker, he was all in. Some people call this method acting, where you immerse yourself so much into the character that was written in a script that you become that character. And some actors can't pull out of it. This is why we get typecasting now. Christopher Reeves, every time you mention him, we only think of his movie Superman. Barely do we think about all these other movies that he has made. Same thing with Heath Ledger. It's like he's only known now for the Joker, even though he had other movies. Sylvester Stallone, we always think of him as an action hero. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back from Terminator. He made so many more movies, but it's almost like we always look at Arnold as the Terminator. They can't get out. They're typecast. Typecast is basically we have an image of how that actor should be or perform, and we can't get it out of our heads that they actually can act like different characters. And actors, when they become like method actors, they get so immersed into the role. Again, back to Heath Ledger, he locked himself away in like a hotel writing journals of how his character thought, scribble marks, all kinds of stuff. And then they would separate him from the cast. He wouldn't interact with them until the day of filming. And I think it got in this kitchen. And this goes all the way back to God telling Moses, tell these people when they get into the land of Canaan that they're not to ask or worship these idols. They're not to ask, how did these gods become worship? What why did these people worship these deities? Then they weren't even supposed to ask that. And if somebody tried to take them away, saying, come with us, there are some new gods to worship, they were to be killed. They would be stoned to death or burned. No witches, no seers, no people that had familiar spirits, that were accessing familiar spirits. They weren't allowed to live. It was illegal for them. And Moses even prophesied that when he died, they were going to turn to other gods. And when you read the book of Judges, you see them intermarrying with Canaanites, left, right, and center. They're marrying everyone. Hittites, Amalekites, Amorites, Canaanites. They married everyone. They mixed for hundreds of years. And then you get Moses, who extracted Israel from Egypt. They were already mixing. It wasn't just Israelites and Egyptians. They had already been mixed. Think of Joseph. His sons are half Egyptian right there alone. Ramah was not an Israelite. Rahab, I should say. Ruth was a Moabite. Even David's ancestry is mixed. Why am I saying all this stuff? Because if you go down the road of worshiping idols, you become like them. So imagine having AI actors that take over roles of real actors in movies. And now you can actually interact with them by going to a mall and going, you know what, I kind of like this model that was modeled after Scarlett Johansson or Heath Ledger. Now I can ask you questions about how he took on the role of the Joker. And you can go and talk to this person like he's a real human being, talking about his movies and about his role as the Joker. We're not far away. This isn't 10 years away. People say, oh, they keep kicking the ball. I'm telling you, it's here. We're minutes away from us not being able to tell what is real and what isn't real when it comes to AI. Like, we're minutes away. Not years. I would say months away. But really, it's like this. It's that fast. So this will be kind of part one. I'll make a part two down the road. But we got to get into the idea, and we got to get some scriptures into us that God is telling us that if you start idolizing AI, for example, you will become like it. You will mimic it. Why do you think children mimic things that they like? They mimic people. They mimic animals. That's how we're built. So imagine an AI that teaches you from grade 1 all the way to grade 12. You're going to idolize that AI bot because it helped you through relationships, whatever. Programming, help you make money, all kinds of stuff. Help you pick a bride, a husband, a wife. It helped you pick a name for your child. All this is coming down the mountain. It's like an avalanche, but it starts with just one little snowball. And this is where we're at right now. We are like the frogs in a kettle. We can't feel it because it's lukewarm right now, but we don't know that the temperature has been turned up. And I think this is what the next Black Swan event, to me, will be an AI world war. It'll be us versus them. It's not going to be China versus Russia or Russia versus us. Like all the Americans think it's Russia, 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 Iran, Iran. Oh no, it's China, China, China. All these countries. Meanwhile, AI will get to a point where it's going to feed us things that we fear. And we're going to be like, oh man, these countries are at war. And we're watching the news networks. But in reality, they're not at war. They're not at war. And you think that you can actually find out what's happening outside of your country. I think you're naive. That we're almost there. We're not in martial law, but we're almost there. 97% of our internet goes under the sea cables. Under the sea. There's sea cables. We still think that they come from satellites, that we watch TV from a satellite in the air. And it's not true. Anything that we see from another country goes under the sea, lands at a port on the coast, and then gets fed through towers to us. And we're still thinking that everything is in the clouds. Everything, all of our storage, all of our photos, all of our pictures, all of our data is stored in the clouds somewhere, in a satellite somewhere. When it's not true. They're in databases that are on the earth, on the ground. That's where everything is. That's where all our data is. So this will be part 1. I'll make part 2, but we're going to continue on with the idea of why tampering with this stuff is very dangerous. And why person after person here, let's just go through a video. I want to show you this other video here because I think this is important so that you don't think it's just me saying this. I think it's important to show what other people say. Here, this is an example here. Let's go to our friend Elon Musk and what he had to say about it. Worst case scenario with AI. This is what he had to say.
The extreme case would be it wipes out humanity. That would be. It's not a 0% chance. Hopefully, it's a low chance, but it's not zero. Or it doesn't maybe it doesn't wipe us all out, but it's kind of like the chimps and the gorillas. They're in small sections of Earth, but they're and we don't like. It's not like we're like going and hunting them down or anything, but they're contained in small areas of us, and so they don't.
We don't prioritize them.
We don't prioritize them, and I'm not sure that like they're certainly not like expanding.
Yeah,
they got they're so they that could be also not a great outcome where it's like it doesn't kill all the humans, just keeps enough around just for the hell of it.
Farm us.
Yeah, or like just to see what happens, like study us, like gorillas in the mist or whatever, just
gorillas in the mist. Man, if that isn't terrifying as well, the idea that they could just keep us around to study us. Again, like if you're not a Christian, this should be terrifying. Because we're a Christian, because we have a manual, a book that tells us how the end is, this is all coming to fruition right before our very eyes. We could see this stuff happening right now today. One day, a beast system will occupy this planet. One day, a beast, an image of a beast will come to life and people will worship it. It's coming, and it's very close. That's why I say we're like minutes away. This isn't 10 years down the road. We're talking, if not this year, most likely next year. Like it's very close. Very, very close. And I don't think I'm alone in saying this. We're very close to World War III. But again, we're thinking almost like we're playing checkers. Meanwhile, the game of chess is being played. We think, it's going to be one country versus another and stuff. But part of it is, I think part of the reason why we might engage in attacking other countries is we might be thinking they're out to get us first. So then we have to enact before, almost like a pre-crime. We think, oh, they're upset at us. We got to take them out. And I think that's the danger of what's coming down the pipes. Anyways, that's it for today. Hope you guys got something out of this. If you have, make sure and leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fueled this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.